Hi, Eric. Let's start with the starting point, actually. So people in this room, and also those that are watching us online, are all engaged in the topic of innovation. Yeah? They are working with cutting-edge technologies. They are tirelessly thinking how to innovate their companies. But it's probably not uncommon, and that's also me included, to frequently or sometimes think about, well, if I only had this one idea at the perfect moment, you know? Bitpanda was founded in 2014. That's way before Bitcoin became mainstream. That's way before Binance FTX was founded. So what have you seen there at that time that makes you think, well, that's the topic I want to spend my life and my career on?
Actually, we started in 2013, but it took some time, and then we didn't have too much money, so we waited with the official incorporation and everything until everything was built, because we know how much the lawyers and notaries cost, right? But you said before that that one idea, actually, that one idea is irrelevant because I also do investments in younger companies. It's not about the idea. You can have the best idea in the world and you have a mediocre team, and it will be bullshit, it will be nothing. Yeah. Or you have a mediocre idea and you have a fantastic team, and they can always build something great. So it's more about the execution, not the idea. And also, when you look at what we have right now compared to what we have started with and what the initial idea was, it's a completely different thing. It has nothing to do with each other. And we didn't spec it out like this. It would be completely unrealistic to say, okay, this was the overall plan. Every year, something new came up. The plan changed. You adapt to this. You also need to adapt to what the industry does, what the demand is. So it's like starting with a very, very small, isolated topic, problem you want to solve, and from there on you build it in a very lean way, in a dynamic way.
So what was your initial idea then?
The initial idea was very, very simple. We wanted to build like a web shop for Bitcoin. Because at this time, you had to send money to, I think, Poland and Japan. Then it got converted to US dollar on an exchange where nobody knew where it really was. Then you had to put like limit order, market orders. People even today, most people don't even know, except for this room, but like in general, don't know what these words mean. So we said like it had to be like going on Amazon, right? You put your credit card in, you buy something, you get it done. So, and that was the initial idea. From there, it became like more like a platform because people didn't want to take care of their crypto themselves. So we built wallet functionalities, then more coins came, and so on, right? So
okay.
But it wasn't like the plan from the beginning. Also, at this time, we didn't even knew that there are so many other coins were coming, right? At this time, there was Bitcoin. That's it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably it's not probably, it is a long way from transitioning to having an idea to an operational business. And as you said, it depends on having a blend of the right people, the right know-how, and also a lot of dedication.
Actually, I think it's the opposite. You have an idea and you just start. Try it out. And it's more trial and error. But if you overplan it, overspec it, you never go live. You are in your own bubble. You think this is what the customer needs, but in fact they need something. They just need 10% of what you have actually built. So as small as possible, and then build it up. So this is actually more the philosophy the anti-corporate philosophy.
But it wasn't you alone. You have two co-founders.
Yes.
Tell us about how you met them and how you thought, well, these are the right people I want to spend the time with and to make this successful.
This is like dating, right? So you think it's great, but in the end it might not be great. But this time actually worked out. So much better than my private life. It was like something where we are super close. So even after more than 10 years where we're working together, it's literally like family. So, and we can fully trust each other. And the most important thing, there is no ego stuff. This is the stuff I see with many younger companies that at a certain point, ego kicks in and then everything falls apart.
Yeah. Did you know each other before that, or? How did that work out?
No, not really. So Paul I met through common friends. He said like, okay, you both want to do same things. You're into the stuff. You should meet. You're in the same city. And Christian, we found our technical founder. We found by asking around who is good with this stuff, who already has experience. And I mean, he was living at this time on a 300 people village in Styria. So you know, it's but digital life, right?
You try out and see what happens. Right. So over the last years, 2 years especially, we've seen enormous challenging time for fintechs. There's an ongoing up and down, but over the last 2 years, we've came from an all-time high in funding, cheap money, every idea could be realized, to a really funding drought, and the overnight pressure to become profitable. And also the crypto industry, we've seen the meltdown of crypto prices, scandals, bankruptcy, and so on. So you also needed to lay off people in that time. How have you managed to keep your team motivated during these times?
So the good news is that we have bootstrapped the company. So the first 6 years, we have bootstrapped it, which is actually great. So we still have, the founders still have over 50% of the company, which is at this stage very, very rare. So this is always a good motivation. Also, if you really love what you're doing, then you don't stop really, right? This is the first thing. This is from our side. But on the other hand, we did the same mistake as most tech companies, especially fintech companies in 2021. We overhired way too fast. So it's like a door, right? You need to get people through the door, and but everything stands still because all your senior people had nothing to do than onboarding and interviews, and nobody was building anymore. So in the end, at this time, where we were the most people in the company, we were the most inefficient. So now we are a few hundred people less, and we're more efficient than ever. Because since then, we learned, we did in summer 2022, we did the cost-cutting exercise, and then we said, like, okay, you know, it's the problem is not the funding side, right? You can always get money if you have good revenue streams. I think even today. But you have to get your cost structure in place. Yep. And so this is also the big difference in what the German government does, right? So it's not like we don't have an income problem. We have a cost problem, right? A spending problem. Yep. So if you get this in place, then it's it's not so difficult right now to get fundings. But the times of growth under any circumstances, these are over. Yeah, for sure. So many companies will fail that are running out of money this year, that have purely been built on growth. I mean, many neobanks, for example, will not. This will not happen again. Let's say it like this. Yeah.
However, you are now over 10 years in the market. Be honest. How often have you thought, well, this might not end well?
Actually, my industry is even worse when it comes to volatility. So all these ups and downs you have in tech, when you are involved in crypto, it's like I had these cycles of how media calls it, crypto summer and winter. Now the fourth time. So when we, for example, in 2021, we made over 300 million in revenues, and we have a good profit margin overall. It's because it's a scalable business. So we knew it was like you can't just widely spend it. So the next year, 2022, we did over 100 million in losses, but it was calculated. We said, like, if we stop investing now and building, then we will slowly die. So we kept going, and this is what we know. For you have to think in cycles, and you need to have plan more conservatively. The more volatile the industry is, the more conservatively you need to plan. And for example, you see the last 4 months, it's like
Yeah.
back in business, right?
Exactly.
So super profitable. And yeah, if you plan to a little bit too aggressively, then, and this is why most companies are out. And I think all competitors we had 10 years ago, I think in Europe, 0 are still alive. 0. So yeah.
Well, crypto prices have increased again. You're back in business.
Yeah, we were. It was. I'm a bit over dramatic. We were fine as well. I mean, it's like,
Right.
but it was just 1 year where it was like the big difference to the year before. But if you see it in relative numbers to the other cycles, 2019 and so on, and it was pretty much the same. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. For an Austrian fintech, you are quite successful in the German market. So scaling your business. If I see other German fintechs out there, scaling even European side seems to be a higher hurdle than expected. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also a language thing, right? So the German markets you can actually see in one bigger picture for me. It's much easier from Austria. By the way, I'm German, so it's like it's much easier to go to Germany than to go to France, right? So because if you don't speak French, they are saying like, "Who are you? I'm not even talking to you if you don't speak my language." So yeah, you know how they are.
Is that the major obstacle you see by scaling, or what other reason do you see why scaling European-wide globally is so difficult?
Most importantly, the financial markets are hyper-regulated, and the biggest problem is, especially in my industry, nothing is harmonized. So we have layers of policy, of more bureaucrats and so on, and then there's the EU, and nobody knows what they're actually talking to, you know. And then you have each market that has their own regulation. Literally nothing is harmonized. So now MiCAR is coming for digital assets, for crypto, which is pretty much MiFID II for digital assets. Then we will see 2025, 2026, a more harmonized EU. But until now, it's this is why I'm always saying, years ago I was asked, are you afraid that more US companies are coming to Europe? I said, what do you mean coming to Europe? You don't come to Europe. You come to 27 different states. Everybody different language. Every regulator thinks differently. This is nothing. This is 27 different states, countries, and therefore, for a US company, this is way too much effort to conquer every single market. With MiCAR, it will probably be much more easy. But until now, yeah, we have with 13 licenses, so we have the most licenses just for cryptos, and then we have the MiFID and payment license, so we have the most licenses in Europe. I always say it's a huge headache, but it's a USP headache we have. So
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk a bit about cryptocurrencies and blockchain in general.
Oh, the big buzzwords, nice.
Yeah, exactly. So the use and the use cases are still heavily debated, I would say. If we look at the function of those cryptocurrencies, like payment, there are so many other means of payments, and we are also talking about digital euro in future.
Yeah. Which
also,
century?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Then we have like store of value, yeah. Some think of this like a digital gold. However, it turns out it's not so good an inflation hedge as expected. On the other hand side, we have tokenization, yeah, digital assets. A lot of investment into this sector, also from the banking side, and of course the investment. So in a new asset class to invest in, and we just recently see the Bitcoin ETF launch in US, and amazingly they are under the top 10 fund inflows currently. So a lot of people just putting money in it. However, different use cases. What's your expectation or your view on the future of these cryptocurrencies?
If I go back, I can remember I had a lot of conferences like this, for example, 2019, and then there was everybody blockchain. Everything was now it's AI, but at this time it was blockchain, and then I was always thinking, you know what? Normally you have a problem, and then you're looking for a technology to solve it. But sometimes it's more like, oh, there's a we have to find a problem so we can actually use this. So that's usually doesn't work. So we're now more in the cooling down phase, or we're over it already, that we see, okay, what is realistic, what we can actually use this stuff for, and especially if you have a highly regulated industry that has been built over decades, you can't change it overnight. But I think, for example, Bitcoin is great. Blockchain is great when it comes to the upcoming thing in the future that would be for my digitization of assets. I think how the stock market is, the clearing, the settling, and everything. This is, let's say, a bit outdated. But you can't just renew everything from scratch. It's like a slow development, but I think there blockchain will have quite a big role.
Okay. And then maybe a few words on the fintech market and the development there. I just had a look yesterday. Fundings are at a 5-year low now. You need to get profitable, otherwise you run out of money. You also mentioned that already. However, you just signed a sponsoring agreement with FC Bayern München. So it seems to be...
It's good to be profitable, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Congrats to that, by the way. However, is that you are expecting the funding market to become better, or do you look at the
IPO? It's not bad.
IPO?
It has just changed. It's not bad. I mean, I'm in contact with many VCs. I'm friends with many in the US and Europe mostly. So the money is still there. They have the money. They need to deploy it, but just the strategy changed. It's not growth over everything. So the growth market is pretty down. So growth companies are having a problem if they can't show the clear road to profitability, or they actually are. And this is what I said before. And for most companies, it is not about growing and revenue. It is about spending. They are overspending. So most founders are fantastic at throwing money out of the window and buying their customers, and this is changing currently, and many are getting into big problems because of this. Nonetheless, the market is so fast that so many new companies are coming up that where this paradigm shift is already, let's say, in their heads. So I'm not worried at all. Some companies will fall, and some new are going to rise, and because the money is still there, I'm not worried about this.
So the message is get used to it.
The message is just work more sustainable business. Cost control. This is the number one message I think every VC out there is telling their companies, and it's a good thing. Yeah,
right.
And somebody should tell this to the government as well, but that's a different.
2 minutes left. Right, then let's jump to quickly, because I think that's imminent for this industry, cryptocurrency and regulation. We've seen a lot of innovation without regulation in that market. However, we also experience all the risks that are inherent in these cryptocurrencies. And cryptos are still born in offshore countries, with no regulation at all.
Are the cryptos itself?
Yeah, the cryptos itself, however, you are focusing or going the different way. So your exchange is licenses. You're taking this serious. Do you see what's your take on this, on regulation? Is it an advantage, a disadvantage? What would you say?
Yeah, it was. We have gone this route for the past 8 years already. So even before there was regulation, we were already trying to simulate or mimic what is already standard in banking and payment, because also we were the bridge between, let's say, the customers and the banks, right? You need to also process the money, so you cannot offend, or you need to play by the rules even before there were rules in place. I was just a little bit upset what happened in 2021. 2021 was the year where there was the Wild West, because all these Asian companies were going crazy and with marketing and everything, and the regulators did actually nothing about it, right? Nobody felt responsible. Here, they are not in Europe. We're just here for my country, right? So in the end, they got millions and millions of customers in Europe and also in the US. I mean, the US is now cleaning up, but for, let's say, in Europe, and nobody was actually enforcing the law, right? So they were all active in the market without license. And I mean, the only good news for the regulators here is that FTX was actually more a company that had more professional customers. But if it would be more like a mass market company for retail, then this would have been the fault of the regulators, because they were just doing whatever they want. They were acquiring customers without a license, and there I was disappointed, because it felt like you're racing, right? But somebody is putting extra weight on you, right? And they say like, yeah, but I'm not responsible for the other guys. So nowadays, the last 2 years, let's say last year, it started to pay off, because they also did their homework. They also realized that the internet is also something where their, let's say, more classic way of thinking and law needs to apply. So yeah, now it really pays off.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Regulation seems to be a thing to give a level playing field.
Yeah, but no, with regulation, it's the timing. If you start to regulate too fast, for example, what we see with AI right now, you're going to kill it. Yeah. So for me, 100%, there's no chance we have big AI companies in Europe. I bet on it. But for crypto, for example, it was good that in the first years they just let people do. And I think it was also a thing because it was spread around the whole world. Mm-hmm. And now is the time to regulate it, because now the company is mature enough to actually cope with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the talk.
Thank you.